mind your own mind, I just want everyone to know. Yeah, you're so sweet and you want me, I just want everyone to know. I'll tell the world, yeah. I'll tell the world. I just want everyone to know. I'll tell the world, yeah. I'll tell the world. I just want everyone to know. You taste so sweet, yeah. Sweeter than Coca-Cola. Your body gets me drunk like rum. I don't play the beat. If you dance over.
Welcome back, everybody, to Lal Park for more LCK Summer 2019. KT Rolster up against the Jin Air Greenwings, the highlight matchup of the week. Me and Papo Smath cannot wait to get into this one.
We're in a world where we're holding out for a hero, Valdez. Who can get over the supervillain that's known as G2? The poor budding Korean region needs to find a favorite against G2, and who else? For KT Rolster and Jin Air, the only two teams that have the untapped power to take down G2.
I mean, as it was foretold in the prophecy by our good friend Larry Seinfeld, he was the one who said it to us way back when, that it was KT Rolster and Jin Air that are better than G2, and no doubt we will see some fantastic play tonight, because I hear those G2 fellas are pretty good, and it does mean a lot, actually, for KT to win this one. They need to win, and Jin Air, this is basically their last chance, because after this they have Griffin as their last matchup.
And after SKT's loss, we need that prophecy, Valdez, because right now, I have no idea who is winning LCK Summer 2019. Nope, no idea. SKT could even fall out of playoffs. Unlikely, but possible, now that they moved to 10-6, and you're right. Jin Air will be in relegations, but it's actually probably more important that they don't go 0-18, because that's never to be beaten. It can't be beaten. The only time a record like that has ever been broken was when NA found ways to lose games that didn't exist at Worlds. When they went 0-10, that was very inspiring. And I don't know if that's ever going to be possible, Valdez. I think 0-18 is the worst you could do.
That is absolutely true. And it's KT desperately trying to run away from relegation versus Jin Air saying, let's fall together. If Jin Air do defeat KT tonight, KT have to go up against Sandbox and then King Zone. They've got two more matches after this left over. Jin Air and Homalife have, well, Jin Air has 2 in total, and Homalife has 2 in total as well. So only 2 matches left, trying to avoid a crisis. But so far, rather than Jin Air, you know, we've said in the past where it feels like although they're losing a lot, we're seeing improvement and we're seeing good things. I feel like the opposite is happening, and we're seeing not as many improvements and actually worse things. So I'm hoping that, okay, we found a stat.
Yeah!
Jin Air has better KDA at 15 minutes into the game, and they're in 9th.
To be fair, both these teams have been pretty awful in summer. KT Rolster haven't been able to level up like you would have hoped for. And I'll give this to Jin Air. In their loss against King Zone, they were actually way better than King Zone in game number 1 and then threw really hard. So at least if they can play like that, KT's not very good at closing games. The problem is that Jin Air just seems to not be able to close games. So it is definitely an unstoppable force and an immovable object of losing here between KT and Jin Air. That's why it's the main event.
Yeah.
You'll see something special tonight, we promise.
Something will happen. We don't know exactly what it is or if it will be related to League of Legends.
No, but the fun thing to do is, when you watch Jin Air games, it's how could they lose this game is a very fun game to play, because they'll never let you down.
Yeah. And they'll get a lot of first bloods and feel good about it. We'll take a look at some highlights here from KT versus Damwon, where we did see the Talia come out. Did eventually win this game, Damwon, as KT did go 0-2.
Look at this, they stopped the Rift Herald charge. Replay, replay, replay.
This is Kingly Bear instead of Bully Bear.
I mean, the King lost. KT was actually so out-rotated this game, even though they have all the experience. The Damwon Gaming didn't know what rotations were in spring season. It was a really sad series, Valdez.
The name of this replay was good. You know, the task in all its glory, basically, the definition. I'm like, well, I mean,
Can you please translate our Jin Air replay?
And he hit it into it. Okay, King Air's sharp in vain. That's the literal translation.
Jin Air had a great level 1 plan and slammed King Zone in the early game. They actually played really, really well in here.
And that's what it says here. The departure is good. You know, the beginning is good. The start, you could say, to the journey is good. And then Mairang Air is, you know, instead of Jin Air. We're getting very creative over here.
Sroot's excellent ult on the turret and stuffed a 3-man dive. Really, really good early game from Jin Air, but I at one point talked about how they could lose, and then it actually happened. And that's the way it goes. But best thing about KT versus Jin Air is that someone has to win, as why are we doing a featured matchup when someone's best stat is hate? How can we not find a stat? We have so many dumb stats.
Oh, come on.
Come on, script writers. You guys could at least find length of name. Lindarinag's got so many letters in his name. He's probably winning at that.
He's got cooler hair, too. Look at the hair part.
Who's a longer named top laner? Name one.
Then Lindarinag?
Yeah, that's pretty long. Think about it.
I'm thinking. I don't know. We have a lot of short names up in the top lane.
Exactly.
Think about Tall, you think about Keen. Kingen is, you know, there. So-on, 6 letters is kind of average. So yeah, I mean, Lindarinag's got that going for him. He's got a lot of letters in his name. Hopefully that'll help him win the top matchup, Papa Smithy.
Well, the top matchup, Kingen's in good form, so it might be a little bit tricky. See how KT are looking. UmTi was in the back, but will not be playing game number 1. Can confirm he's here. Didn't see Smeb, but I imagine he's probably around. KT Rolster need all the help they can get. Made some good mechanical plays, but were really, really out-macroed by Damwon, so need to find some ways to deal with that. And the team with the good early macro game very often is Jin Air Greenwings.
They do have good starts to games. They're known for actually picking up first bloods in a lot of their games, more than you would expect. Mairang likes to go for aggressive, unexpected ganks early on in the game. LS likes to call them coin flips. Sometimes they are. And if you do catch him out, it will put him very behind. But when it works out, I mean, gets Jin Air off to a great spot. But one thing we've oftentimes criticized them for is the fact that the second the mid-game starts, it's like they lost their mind or something. They don't know where they're going. They look lost on the Rift. They don't know how to play the macro game. And that's just been the case for most of the summer and even the spring split.
That fan came from Changwon to watch LCK. Lovely to have you here in Lowell Park and to invite you around the world on Twitch chat and on YouTube and other platforms to Lowell Park, Seoul, South Korea, near City Hall. The KT Rolster versus Jin Air, the main event to end all main events. This could be a really fun one. It could be sad. Hopefully we'll make it fun if it is a little bit sad.
Yeah, you know, we've had those moments where we've had to, you know, take the cast by the reins and lead the viewers' eyes elsewhere, you know, away from the League of Legends.
It's a sensory experience, is the LCK, and maybe we won't be able to appeal to the eyeballs, but maybe the ears, you know?
Yeah, okay.
50% something.
Just, you know, avert your eyes, guys. If it gets a little bit too scary, it's okay.
I could also suggest opening the LPL stream, putting the video on, but muting it and having our audio to get both, right?
Wow.
We'll give you the audio and just pretend you're watching RNG IG.
Yeah, I'd recommend definitely getting the multi-Twitch going at least, is the play here. As we're getting into the ban and pick.
KT Rolster versus Jin Air. Grabs no doubt watching on in horror as the G2 Destroyers pit their wares against each other. Skarner going to be the first ban here against Mairang. We saw some fearsome Skarner play Now, first series of the day from Fono. Very quick bans coming in between KT and Jin Air. More of a bot lane focus this week. We've seen multiple support bans, quite a few games.
Yeah, and the Ezreal almost all the time.
Kali priority after the, it's hard to call it a nerf or a buff, after the change that has definitely buffed the damage side. Kali's seeing a lot of respect, I think, increasingly around the world, but certainly in Korea and then yesterday in the LEC. What's the final ban going to be here? Because the bans against Jin Air or against KT can always be a little bit different. It seems like they don't want to deal with Varus Tom. Jin Air were first picking Varus to make sure that Deft and Tucson couldn't get a lead, but I don't think you respect Prey and SnowFlower to be able to run over a 2v2 lane like you do Deft and Tucson, so Varus priority might be a bit lower for the side of Jin Air Greenwings.
You'd have to imagine, especially after that Tom Kench is taken away. We're looking at first picks here: Ezreal, Sejuani, Aatrox, and maybe even Azir, as that has been a mainstay for BDD for a while now.
Grace has been a Zoe player. He can play LeBlanc. Could also go the Karma route if you want to dodge the lane, so we'll wait and see. The mid lane choices, one of the famous answers in the past was the Vel'Koz, but that sounds very tricky for Jin Air to potentially pilot. I prefer when they try to keep it simple, with pick CC everywhere. Mairang Xin, always a good pick up for them, as the Aatrox is the Lindarinag always champion.
He has played 12 games of Aatrox. I'm not going to mention the win rate. You guys don't need to know.
They've won 3 games, so...
Okay, well, he has 2 of those wins
all
on
right,
Aatrox.
That's pretty high win rate, relatively.
So you guys can do the math on the rest of it.
They're going to try to angle for Zyra Khan here, Root and Kellin. The good thing here is that while SnowFlower would usually be really respected for his Rakan, it's a very good engaged support player. His struggles this season, if he does go on a non-Zyra Khan lane, potential to pick him is a little bit higher because of the squishier nature there. So recently, we have been seeing the stealaways. And what about Kalista Rakan for the side of KT?
Well, they're certainly considering Kalista here.
They're definitely considering Rakan, but doesn't mean they have to lock it in.
Yeah, there's a lot of beefy boys you can throw down there with Kalista to help out with the engage.
Some of them accounted for, though. The Nautilus would be a pretty go-to here, and it seems like they will be thinking about, but not necessarily paying more than lip service to the Rakan. Sejuani's drafted, but notice with no melee laners, so there's always the potential horror of there being 2 ranged allies. We saw Peanut do 900 damage because he had no lane synergies with the Sejuani. So
or how about a beefy girl in the bot lane? Sejuani support, we've seen that nowadays.
That's true. Interesting.
You know?
And that's a lot of knock-ups and knockbacks and stuns, so wouldn't hate it. Wouldn't hate it from KT Rolster. But first stop will be the jungle on that pick. Race takes the Rakan anyway. Pretty hard to actually lane Rakan against Kalista Sejuani after 6.
Yeah.
Just get ulted in the face and it hurts a lot.
Definitely would be difficult, as they're going to give credit to score on the Sejuani.
Oh, a Karthus spam. We haven't seen so many of that recently. Actually saw Canyon pick up his Karthus and lose last week, so... Karthus players have been a little bit more sometimes food. I wonder if that says anything about what they're expecting here. Do they ban Karthus Trundle for kind of compositional and direct answers to Sejuani jungle? I wonder what the thought process is from KT. As the Jace going to be banned away from Kingen. Kennen's open, so I imagine someone's going to be visiting the top lane Kennen tree. Probably Kingen, with the Aatrox likely to be a top laner.
Especially after you see that Jace being banned out here, and the amount of times Lindarinag has played Aatrox.
GP, Nico, Kennen, those are the kind of picks you think of into Aatrox, and if you're feeling Fiora, you go the way of Fiora, but Smeb's not playing, and he's definitely the big Fiora player on the side of KT. Raga's actually going to be banned here against Jin Air. Guess they're wondering if they'll be able to find viable magic damage dealers between their last 2 picks. So what we doing, Mairang? How aggressive we getting? The answer is probably very aggressive if we're not going to be selecting jungle until final pick. What would you like to see of the Mairang picks? Jungle Jax is probably my favorite. I'd be down for an Evelyn. That'd be pretty fun.
How about Elise?
Okay. I mean,
Add
Elise
in
is,
some magic damage.
Elise is the safe man's Evelyn in some ways,
Yeah.
right? A bit more reliable.
I mean, you do have the magic damage from the laning Karma, but you might want to add a bit more into that.
You really, really suspect it's going to be an AP jungler as the final pick here. Waiting for the full information on this draft. At least there's somewhere very nice for Sejuani to go. Renekton and Sejuani. That is a lot of perma CC. Potential. I wonder how many seconds that is altogether. I want to say like 3.5, maybe more. As the Volibear will eventually be the lane partner for the Kalista. Praise Kalista been more impressive than some of his other picks. Positioning has been a little bit more on point there. Come on. Will we be wabamming today? This will be very low magic damage from Jin Air.
Yeah, don't make me wabam in this composition with that Jarvan. Okay.
Wabamming.
Wabam, he's picked, and I'm not so sure about that. You know, we were talking about lack of magic damage. They do have the Karma, but it's just one Q every once in a while, basically. That's not a great amount.
And your worry is that KT actually do have a comp that can build armor. Like some of these comps go for like 5 damage dealers with Jace and Akali, and you won't really see armor. But Kingen can get 3rd item armor. Score already has high base armor because of his passive. Volibear can build armor. This is a pretty narrow win condition for Jin Air, but if they want to fight, they do have great options to fight with mobility, double hard engage in the Jarvan and the Rakan, and also an Aatrox to potentially lull all over the faces of the enemy. So given that, if you hit the ground running, and this is Jin Air, they're good at that, who's to say there isn't a Jin Air mid-game that could at least pick up a game victory? Because Jin Air are taking any victory they can get. They do not want to be statistically the worst LCK team ever.
As I said before, this is where you have to make it happen. I doubt that Griffin, with so much on the line in terms of competitiveness at the top of the table, is going to give you any games if you are Jin Air. So you got to take it against KT. You got to drag them down with you, down to relegations, and maybe finally, for once, get that Glad plane flying in the sky. Not sure if this is the draft to do it, though, Papa Smithy. We'll have to wait and see.
It's a tricky one.
Yeah, certainly is, as we're ready to jump into match number 80 here. Game number 1, KT up against Jin Air. Let's do it. Still got a relatively packed out house here, actually. KT, obviously, one of the bigger fan bases in Korea.
And as a KT fan, or maybe as a neutral, you might look at it and say, but why would they have chosen this match to go to? Well, if you want to see your team win, this is the day. And KT haven't been able to beat many other people, so if you want to come see your favorite players or streamers or YouTube channel or whatever and see them win, then Jin Air FLICKR is one of those rare chances where they come in pretty big favorites. They were able to easily beat Jin Air 2-0 in the first round robin.
And when you win, there's a much greater chance that you're going to do a fan meet afterwards, which is a big part of the, the Korean League of Legends culture, I'd say, out here. Is doing fan meets after you win, but not generally after you lose.
So Prey is 5-3 on Kalista, which sounds not that impressive, but remember, his team is 11-24. So if he's 5-3 on Kalista, on not Kalista, he's 6-21. So
wow.
Yeah. So that's actually a really, really high win rate on Kalista relative to everything else.
That is a very good point. As Mairang, I mentioned it before, he's definitely a guy that likes to go for some coin flip ganks. Level 2 red buff Jarvan, as he's going to show himself here and be forced to run out.
Yeah!
Gets the knock up, and that's a nice chunk of damage here, but of course no kill or anything like that is going to come in.
Well, that was the jerk move, gang, to get the health bar lead against BDD. I didn't spot if he started Corrupting Potion. Might have. Unclear. Looking over at the rune choices here. Electrocute Jarvans, that is not something we've seen very often. It's usually into the Conqueror or something along those lines. I wonder if he'll be a warrior alongside the Electrocute. Watch this space.
I feel like that fits Mairang's style very well. Wouldn't be surprised at all if that's the way it went. As after that gank, Grace is up on levels here, but is actually down a little bit on the mana.
Up on Corrupting Potion charges as well. BD wasn't actually able to read the directions on, I guess you'd call it a stimulant, the Corrupting Potion, and he actually just drank all of it in one go, which is actually very risky for your health total.
That is, yeah, that's, you gotta be careful, guys. You don't want to chug the whole thing.
Now, I'm gonna ask you a question. What's the most energy drinks you've drunk in a one sitting?
So, I've never really been an energy drink guy.
Come on, you were at college. You were a young person at some point. There must have been a time where you definitely went too hard on the energy drinks.
Honestly, not really. Like, I'm really trying to think right now. You remember 5 Hour Energy?
Yep.
I think I took 2 of those. Maybe I had one in like a Red Bull. That was probably the farthest I went. Very, very tame.
You are very mild on your energy drink.
Yeah.
I had, so there was a energy drink. I don't know if this is a global one. I think it might just be Australia. The Coca-Cola energy drink was Mother, they call it in Australia. Which is a good name, right? And it's significant because what does Red Bull usually come in? 250 ml or something. Mother was like 500 ml.
Oh, boy.
And like double intensity, and I had 2 of those back to back. It was, and then I played a soccer game, and it was hard. It was hard to play that soccer game, seriously. Yeah. Do not recommend. Please follow the directions. Do not swig all of your Corrupting Potion.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with that one, as Mancer Q doesn't land. Mairang's back, but it's Flash and it's Azir. I mean, he's not really gonna get anything done here, so. Yeah, you remember, well, that's a really funny name, actually.
Mother. It's a good one.
I feel like that would definitely do well in terms of, like, marketing, you know?
It was actually,
very,
honestly,
very memorable.
I'm biased, but I really enjoyed the taste of the drink. So, I wasn't actually drinking it for the right purposes, as there's no more potions to drink. Mairang walks up just to electrocute him. You really get a feel for Mairang's personality by watching him play League of Legends.
Doesn't happen with everybody, but for him,
if he was in a cartoon, like after the bully had knocked someone out, he's like the sniveling backup guy that like kicks the guy when he's already down. Right?
Yeah.
Like got him.
Yeah, stay
Yeah,
down.
boss. Yeah, boss.
Kind of reminds me of Squidward too. You watch much SpongeBob?
See, I'm just a bit too old for SpongeBob.
Okay.
I'm technically the right age for Power Rangers, but I didn't watch it.
So what did you watch then?
I think, so in Australia we got a lot of like early 90s cartoons that were still being played as I got older, so I saw like Winnie the Pooh and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was the right age for Pokemon.
Winnie the Pooh.
I was like 8 years old when Pokemon was a thing. 8,
Okay.
9. So I was right in the wheelhouse.
That's good. That's better to gauge than I was. I remember playing Pokemon Blue and I didn't really understand what was going on. I was, how old was I then? 5, probably, around that time.
What are you,
91?
No, I was going to say 91. Okay. So yeah, you were around 5, 6.
Yeah. Remember my brothers had it, but I was kind of the younger kid. The younger brother that never really got a chance, you know, the mom would buy one copy.
Are you the youngest of the brothers?
Yeah, I'm the third. 2 older brothers.
What are the older?
Sister.
So I've met one of the brothers. I forget. He's a higher education graduate. That's what I remember there.
Yes.
As well. Let's watch KT here.
Yeah. Got some action. So, wow, Mairang actually gonna secure that one, and now he's in a, okay. We're just going straight up in the air. That's one way to fly off. As first blood, BDD gonna pick that one up as they went real deep for that kill.
We got some plants, we got some walls, and we bounce up in the air and celebrate. Mairang finally put into the death chamber after all his annoying poking in the mid lane.
BDD got his revenge.
He got the red buff, but then he had to give up the red buff very promptly afterwards. I like to think that there was like, you know when there's that evil contraption and it's slowly traveling through the air and everyone's very concerned it's going to reach the ground? I'd like to think that he caught it and then dropped it, and it got caught by the hero here. So don't worry, crisis averted. There will be no nuclear launch codes or anything today.
Well, I mean, we'll have to wait and see how this
That's true.
series
There's
goes.
still time.
We had a lot of fun during the Hanwha Light Jin Air series.
That's true. We definitely went way off the deep end on that one.
Yeah.
Wait, we had Big Chungus in that one.
We did have Big Chungus.
We had the 3-star Zed.
And Mairang getting hit by every single arrow from
On
the
his
AP
carcass.
Ash with Zhonya's.
Speaking of Mairang, he's found a path. It's a very wide one.
Hex Flash on Jarvan. That seems appropriate for Mairang.
Level 6 on Prey. Who are they going to focus here? They kind of have to focus the Callista. This is one of those headache moments, so it seems like Mairang will give up on it. Very low percentage chance of a gank. What happened to that no one takes teleport anymore?
I don't know. We had it, though, in Game 3 of the last series, both Lucian and Kai'Sa, I believe.
All right, let's get that replay of this entire play. Fading with a bit of priority. BD comes in first, and watch this for some hype. Who hits the plant? It was Jarvan. Are you a trampoline person?
He was trying to take off in a Jin Air airplane, but he didn't go anywhere.
You spent a lot of time on trampolines in your youth?
Actually, yeah. We wanted a trampoline for a really long time, and then we finally got
Oh,
one.
nice.
And it was...
Was one of your siblings who really wanted it, like, too old by then and lost the, Oh, good. Everyone was
No, we
still
were
into
like, you know, young teenage years, so it was like a pretty good time.
it. Does anyone ever age out of being into trampolines?
I don't think so. I remember I went to an event in Dubai for hosting a different game. They had these mini trampolines because they had performers, and I just got up on one of those and started, you know, bouncing a little bit. It was fun. Doesn't matter how old you are. I think trampolines are fun until you know, your joints start to hurt and stuff like that.
I'm close to that, but not quite there, Valdez. So I'm still a trampoline man, as we might see some trampoline action. BD's thinking about enacting a trampoline.
We have a lot of knockups in this game, that's for sure. As, okay, that one went wide, but
Uh-oh.
still it went to score. Spike button is on point today as in goes Mairang. He's got that flag and drag. Well, Bam comes in, but he's got to immediately go away. As Azir going to pick up the double kill. That's 3 kills now going into BDD, including the Infernal Drink. And once again, Jin Air not finding much luck.
It's all the side of the hand. People wanted to laugh at him for missing his ultimate. No, no, no. It was a clever ruse to pick up the smite onto the Infernal Drake. 2 kills off the back of it. KT, while we've been discussing the finer points of trampolines, 3,000 gold up on Jin Air Greenwings, and this might be a trampoline of death, because look who's picked it all up, but BDD.
BDD, he hasn't found too much success here in the summer season, to say the least, but in this game, he's going to find a lot more than normal success. Already 3-0. That's solo queue level, where you pick up your first item already at 10.
And just as everyone wants to point and laugh, smite comes in, 531, I believe 550 would have been the smite at this point. It is claimed, as from there, we get some more bouncing.
That's a big bear.
How big would you say the bear is?
That's thick with 2 C's. Ooh, that's a big one.
What about if it's thick with 2 C's and a K?
I don't think we've ever had that before. That's like unexplored territory.
Well, we're open-minded to said bears. As KT Rolster would like to hit the like and subscribe button onto the Rift Herald. Jin Air on a recall from Grace, who you'll notice doesn't have teleport right now. This should just be a freebie for the side of KT Rolster.
And not much that Jin Air can do. They're pretty far behind from this point, and they're going to get even more far behind as let's give more gold to BDD. Why not? Let's go mid with that Rift Herald. I like that idea. But we'll see if he does end up casting that one. Looks like he was thinking about going into Raptors and maybe going in from behind to gank Grace, but he's going to place it over the wall and get it going now.
No interrupts for Grace onto a Rift Herald charge, so easy to slam it down. Score, get out of there. Give the gold to BDD. Come on, Score.
Oh, smart.
You don't need that 160 gold. He doesn't know that a lot of people are here, but everyone is lying in wait.
All right, well, Kellin's dead. He's got a big shield, and actually he's not dead. He's going to be totally fine after that one. Rakan, a slippery boy, able to get away just fine after that one. It was all a ruse.
You don't get to write eulogies anymore. If you were thinking about that as a backup career after League of Legends cost.
Yeah. No, I wasn't, but I'm glad I've crossed that one off my list. There are a lot of choices out there.
You know what sounds like a pretty awful job? The people that have to write obituaries for notable figures that are still alive, just so they have one to release the moment they pass away.
Yeah.
It's
Really a sad thing.
Exactly. I mean, I guess you get to write the list of accomplishments and you know they're not passing away, but it's not quite actuary level of that. I remember when I learned what that job was, it made me very sad.
Actuaries is just doing statistics on the likelihood of people getting into accidents.
Like, do we fix this problem, or would it be cheaper to pay out the people that were incurred from this defect? Very bad mind space things. Sounds horrible.
Yeah. It's a lot of statistics and very much involved in insurance and stuff like that. So those insurance companies, definitely a big topic nowadays in good old America.
America, huh?
Yeah.
We try not to touch the American topics too much.
Yeah, well.
All of them are a little bit too close to home, especially the video game stuff recently, right?
Absolutely.
The closest possible to home, we're on a video games broadcast.
Absolutely. That's,
I officially have no position on this, apart from I like video games, and I don't think they could.
Would tend to agree. Video games are just fine.
Is KT just fine, Valdez? In this game, I would argue yes. They're up 3,700 gold. And you know what? They're beating Jin Air in Jin Air clocks. So theoretically, it only gets better from here for KT.
Jin Air and Jin Air that's a new one. As, yeah, Nectin's pretty good at taking down wards here. What do you think Jin Air have to do to come back in this game against a massive BDD?
Well, I see cloth armor, so unfortunately they've been hard countered by the itemization already.
Oh boy. 300 gold to win the game, you say?
I mean, to be fair, Ninja Tabi was close to that back in the day. Not quite there anymore, but it's going to be hard. I guess when Xayah finishes her cull and maybe gets a faster second item, there'll be like one single timing with Ardent Sensor where maybe things can happen, but it's not looking good, Valdez, with the Infernal and Gold League. To put it mildly.
Yeah, they got a nice little ocean as well.
Upside for Jin Air is that KT have thrown way bigger leads. I don't think Jin has ever gotten to the position of 3 Infernal Drakes pike bot lane that was fed. And losing.
No, I don't think so. They generally do not get that far. And so they never have a chance to throw from there, which I suppose is a good thing.
So before we were talking about kind of the simple joys, like trampolines, for example, what are other things that you loved as a kid that still to this day get you to smile, those nostalgic smiles, rather than things that you try again that you liked as a kid and you're like, oh no, it's not the same? Do you have other things that you can identify that are still like really like close to your heart?
You know what I really loved to do was, you know, we all played video games back when we were kids, but I remember there were a couple of summers where it was like us and the kids on the block. We'd spend like every summer day outside. Like, out on the street or going to the park or playing sports, you know. Don't really get that nowadays because, you know, the closest thing I get is hockey on Sundays.
Sure.
That's actually very similar, you know. Just to have that full day out with a bunch of friends and that kind of thing. I'd say that's one of the big things that gets me to reminisce, you know, about the old days. Have that nostalgia trip.
Jin Air continue to have the seed objectives, really have no priority anywhere. If we're talking about kind of organized things, I really love five-a-side soccer, or football, who you are. I really enjoyed doing that. I refed it, I played it, I had a lot of fun. Played on like 3 university teams at the same time. I was really big into that. But on the kind of more simple, like solo-driven things, there's a lot of pleasure in some like really kind of inane stuff. Like I still like to just sit on an office chair and spin around, you know? Like, it's very, very simple, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I'm remembering, like, being a kid and, like, waiting for my parents to be done with something, having to pass the time.
Spinning around.
Before there was iPhones and, like,
Yeah.
5G internet, and having everything at my disposal, you had to make your own fun a little bit more honestly.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's stories that my dad would tell me when I was really young that probably sound like me telling this story to the generation in Twitch chat,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's true. I wonder how young our youngest viewer is right now. You have any guesses?
Maybe like 7.
7?
7, 8?
I was gonna say
League
like
of Legends
9.
is pretty complex, so like it wouldn't probably be like 4-3.
No, I was gonna go older, but now that I think about it, I think young kids grow up in an age now where access to the internet, like YouTube and Twitch, is just standard life. You know, in the past for me, it was like E-Bomb's world was this weird, like
And Carter as well, right?
strange. Yeah, like all those things about the internet, we were growing up as they were developing, so they weren't as taken for granted, you know. But I guess younger kids nowadays, like 8, 9 years old, could be watching this broadcast.
So I've actually come to a pretty big realization, and it's a suspicion more than a realization, but I have a pretty strong belief on kind of this phenomena recently. It's kind of a long story, so I don't want to miss action. Jin Air, unfortunately, just trying to defend scenario. It's almost impossible to defend an Aura top turret when you're this far behind, but they're going to try.
Yeah, they're going to give it a shot. See how that goes for them, as Root is finally going to come up here, and KT not so ready to go in there, actually. Going to throw one back. Teleport's coming in real deep from Lindarinag, maybe too deep here, as Grace is going to take a ton of damage. And Kingen's in the back, just going ham by himself, but he's kind of all alone. Finally, Prey is going to join up with him. Lindarinag not able to do much. Lots of low health bars, but nobody really going down. We're corralling them as Prey's going to snipe one. And you'd have to imagine that Lindarinag is quickly going to follow. A couple more kills going to go the way of KT, as that is a nice little 3 for 0 in favor of them.
And you start to see why those sort of turrets are indefensible, because too long a lane when you're that far out. The deep teleport just put them out of position. As you get closer and closer to the base, positioning to defend gets better and better for the red team in that sort of area. Unfortunately, Jin Air were a little bit overly bold, thought there was a way they could problem solve themselves out of a rough spot. The answer was, unfortunately, they couldn't. That puts them deeper in the hole. Valdez is now sitting on the precipice of 7,000 gold lead for Jin Air Greenwings. Sorry, KT Rolster, not for Jin Air Greenwings. Wouldn't want to get that wrong.
That hasn't happened many times.
Would you like to hear my life suspicion?
Yes.
So what I've noticed is that as the years have gone on, people get more and more cynical and kind of less congratulatory about seemingly cool things. Everything's so passe, like, oh, I've seen better. Oh, I don't know if it was that good. Like, people get more and more negative about kind of new release movies, and I watch a lot of wrestling, and people always like, oh no, that wasn't that good. Like, people like to play down things that other people enjoy.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenon of recent memory. And I believe that exists because we have access to everything all the time. And that's not what I had as a kid. You had to wait till the TV show showed up next week for the next episode. You can't binge anymore. You couldn't binge as much as you can
can't just
now.
watch the greatest highlights of one of the best, hockey players of all time and say, oh, okay, there's nothing better than this.
If you wanted to watch sports highlights, you waited till the news was over. Right?
Yeah.
Just before the weather came on, you got to learn about your sports team because you couldn't just stream all the video. It didn't exist before. And I think now that you can live your life binging on only what you like and not actually keeping really tapped on anything else.
Grace is dead.
Yeah.
Not much else to say there. It's pretty standard. Just thought he was safe under inner turret, but he wasn't.
But you're so overexposed to things you like that naturally you get more negative about it because you just have way more of it. And speaking of more, Kellin, I don't know if he wants to get more of this.
He hit one charm. He hit one charm onto the bear. We'll give him that. And BDD has 5 bajillion damage already. I mean, it's like ridiculous the amount of items he has at this point in the game.
But more was not good for him, and that's what I think happened, is that we got exposure to so much that now you just naturally become cynical because your sample size is so much bigger with the infinite possibility of streaming video on the internet.
Yeah, there's like almost too much information. Comes down to that with even news and stuff like that. media, but we're not going to get into that as Lindarinag's going in. Somebody had to face check, although probably should have been the jungler trying to go for a steal, as he was kind of caught out there, and KT going to restart the Baron.
They didn't bring any friends on the face check, so unfortunately, it's going to be a hard Baron to contest. And yeah, KT could mess this up. They've done it before.
Somehow, score is really low here, and in comes Root, already going to get one crit down onto SnowFlower. And KT say, well, we're not ready to take it just yet.
The egg timer has not actually chimed, so it's not going to be Baron o'clock. And look at this, Jin Air can run at the Infernal Drake. It wasn't a perfect game averting play. They do have one turret, but an Infernal Drake is more than nothing.
Congratulations to Jin Air. You're going to be able to pick up one. Okay, they're trying to get Root over here quickly. I was wondering why the Karma was running away. As, okay, they are going to smite it down. Teleport's coming in. Kellin's trying to back. That's not going to work. SnowFlower
BDD's
is
feeling himself.
Charging.
He's definitely going to go all in.
Oh, BDD.
You know he's going to do it.
Oh, he did. Actually, he got interrupted as well on the dash. He hesitated a little bit too much. Well, bam! Back into the back line as Prey is going to be able to dodge out of it, actually. And they're just going to be able to play front to back from here. That was one of Jin Air's chances as, okay, we pushed them away from Prey, as perhaps he was scared of them doing too much damage to his little friend.
Well, that was not quite the levels of hype we were expecting, but BDD was definitely wanting to go in there. Doesn't quite get the connection, they don't quite get the wipe, they won't get Baron from it, but they should get an inner turret and keep rolling on the side of KT Rolster.
We're definitely rolling here as they are going to hand over that red buff. Not going to consider the Baron again. Yeah, just one kill extra on the back of all of that chase down.
I saw BDD, and the moment that a mid laner like BDD uses teleport, he's not going to have it go down for waste. Interrupted on the jump over the wall. Probably wouldn't have been able to get the connection he really wants. Speaking of connections, Prey had to heal. The Ignite was so optimistic on SnowFlower because, of course, the ball event passive is always going to out-heal the potential for Ignite damage, and BDD didn't quite get the connection he wanted.
It's a little bit too fast for him, I suppose. He wasn't able to click in the right direction. And, well, he's 7-0 and 2, so it's hard to criticize what he's done so far. He's got that max bounty right now.
The armor is not hugely stacked onto KT, but unfortunately BDD is just so big on this is here. That score should come in.
Yeah, score doesn't really take damage right now.
It's 25 minutes in and the Ardent Sensor isn't done. On to Karma, so that's it's not a great spot. Root has maybe one team fight with IE before the game is over to try to do something, and if the armor is done by then, things are looking like a bit of a struggle. Already hard, for sure.
Jin Air is still looking for that engage. They're going to find Prey, and they're going to blow him up. That was actually fantastic. In goes Mairang with the Cataclysm, and in goes BDD. This guy just doesn't give a damn right now. He is so fed. But is he going to die? Yes, he will. At the end of it all, 1,000 gold went to Lindarinag, but it just doesn't matter. As a triple kill, going to go over to Kingen at the end of it all.
Nicely cleaned up by Kingen. He's going to brawl with the Baron as well, as we are Shojin still rolling onto this Baron. Trading gold at this one's actually not too bad from KT because they have the outscale with the single damage profile onto Jin Air. The Baron will be slow. They can wait for Prey to respawn. And then it's time for the death push from KT Rolster.
A little bit sad that BDD didn't get to avoid any deaths here.
Are they going to wait for the ultra greedy 10 seconds?
I mean, it's taken them a while to even do full damage.
Will they do it? I'm going to predict no.
Okay. I think they should have just done it.
They actually smited.
They were like, no, not BDD. We're not giving him the Baron buff.
How was
Our
it going to be
super fed is
contested
here?
by the enemy? Why would he smite it? BDD scores like, no, I remember 2 HP. No.
Yeah, no chances.
All the wards around the wall to spot here, and that was a nice fashion mark. I mean, his mechanics are often pretty good. This was really clean wombo engage.
Bounce castle.
Then And from there, turned out the BDD was too strong.
He did about a bajillion damage before he died.
Watching some of the numbers though, and while there's some answering gold onto Jin Air, they can't spend it that efficiently because they have the very, very Xayah-focused damage. Holy wow. 6,600 damage. For clarity, it was approximately 7,200 damage total by Jin Air.
Yeah. BDD's just playing his own game right now. I mean, he was 3-0 at 10 minutes into the game, so it's not really that unexpected here. But I've seen better on the internet.
Classic overexposed Valdez.
Yeah. Always overexposed, absolutely.
Has there ever been a play pasted onto Reddit that someone didn't say was like, oh, I've seen it in my class?
No, I mean, that happens nowadays, even with Faker as one out, I guess. That's, okay, Mairang. He's just kind of throwing it from here. He knows there's not much of a chance, as he was going to give it one last try.
You were bammed to the next game, Valdez.
Yeah, let's quickly go into that one, as Kingen's going back and he's TPing, not messing around with this bush, as Knockup's trying to come in, but Root is going to nearly die on the backside of that, and eventually does, as BDD and Frey still alive, and they've got pretty insane damage at this point in the game. Gonna take about 29 minutes to finish this one off, but it was entirely favored to KT Rolster the entire time. GG, 1-0.
It seems like KT Rolster are working out their frustrations on Jin Air. They actually wish that Hummer Life was still here. There might have been a bit of biffo before the series if they caught them in the corridor, because Hummer Life's victory over SKT makes KT's task to stay in the LCK more difficult. They cannot afford to drop any games, and they have to find that upset victory next week in order to jump ahead. Searching for power level, Praise Kalista comes together, but this one was about BDD.
BDD indeed. He was the big carry this time around. Played it pretty well in the early game. I like Jin Air's bouncy castle there at the end. It was, you know, they were down 10,000 gold. They really had one opportunity to give it a shot. If it didn't work out, then well, you know, at least they could say they gave it their all.
And the nice thing for KT is, worst case scenario, they're put into relegations. There are not two teams in that relegation tournament better than KT. KT's way better than Jin Air. And right now, Challengers is very weak, so the chances of KT being relegated are really, really low. But the embarrassment of playing back-to-back relegations, just like CJ Entus in 2016, is a sting and kind of a bad smell that will linger for KT, however long the org remains in League of Legends.
Yeah, that definitely is the case, as in the booth here for Jin Air, we see 3 players. Not sure where the other 2 are. We're feeling pretty good.
All right, there's people there shipping for a pentakill from Root and all sorts of other things. KT, probably not too much to talk about in this game. They didn't do too much wrong against Jin Air in game number 1. Look at this damage. 27,000 damage, enemy team all together. Didn't do more than the entire enemy team like we saw yesterday. This is what, 27, 33, 43, about 46,000 damage. So he did more than half of the entire enemy team's damage. For a more balanced game, that's pretty good.
Yeah, we've seen better. We've seen better
as recently as yesterday.
In every Faker highlight thread, there will be, oh, you know, this is not that good. Faker's washed up. Like, you know, he's done so much better. Whatever, you guys are getting hyped about nothing. But, yeah, definitely some good stuff there from BDD. Should give him a lot of praise, as we'll see what he can do here in game number 2 after the break.
갈게. 얘네가 걸 거야.
오케이.
받아치자.
걸었고.
내 건다.
천천히 앞에부터.
빼는 데가. 나 포션 너무 좋아.
가야. 안 됐고.
천천히.
아.
안 쫓아가도 돼.
아.
안 쫓아가도 돼 얘들아.
잘했어.
근데 일단 탑으로 하자 탑.
다음으로 끝내자 이거 끝내자. 가야 붙었나?
끝내자. 나 이거 탈당 올게.
가야
모르겠어.
가야 공 있어.
가야 공 있을 거
가야
같아.
노플이다. 가야 노플.
일단 게 이거. 일단 돼.
위에 타워. 영광 미친 아빠.
나야 죽이자. 나야. 얘들아 타워. 아 빼. 오케이.
자 죽여라 그냥.
죽여라. 아우 힘들었다.
힘들었어? 아이 그만하면 돼.